Hello, Joakim. This is my first interview that I'm doing on my channel, and I wanted to bring Joakim along. So, long story short, Joakim and I met in the Compassionate Inquiry program. And in September, when I first joined the program, I put my ethnic nationality. I said I'm a Chaldean woman living in Stockholm, Sweden, was formerly a Jehovah's Witness, and I'm in the September cohort. I can't even pronounce it right. And I said that, and Joakim said, how random. I'm also living in Sweden and also an ex Jehovah's Witness. So I was like, we need to meet up. And the Compassionate Inquiry group, or Compassionate Inquiry program, for those of you that are not familiar with it, because I have spoken about it on my Instagram, is a program from Gabor Mate. It's a method that is a somatic based experience, bringing people into the present moment, into their bodies, and allowing them to feel whatever is present for them. So Joakim is such an awesome person. After I met him, I think we hung out together for the first time like 3+ hours, and we just hit it off. I was like, this person is somebody I want to be friends with for the rest of my life if he allows me to be. And yeah, the Swedes are just amazing people. But Joakim, you were the first sexual Witness I met in a very, very long time. So I really just wanted to say that. And also, yeah, the connection we had was really great. And when I wanted to do an interview, my first interview for YouTube, I thought it would be great to have your story, because your story is incredibly inspiring. So we have the Jehovah's Witness part alike. So if we can just get into your story and not waste my time to keep talking, I would love for you to talk.
Sure thing. Yeah, thanks for having me, Vivian.
Yes.
I am born and raised in Sweden, in Stockholm, as a Jehovah's Witness. I got baptized at 15, thinking that, I wasn't feeling great at the time, but I was thinking that I need to put myself in the right path. If I hand myself over to God, everything else is going to be okay. So I did that, and as I came up from the water, this was in Strängnäs, which is like one of the mega churches or whatever, mega things, convention place it's called. Mm-hmm. And I came up from that water and I had a panic attack. I just was shaking and just like, what's the word? I had a voice going, you fucked up now, or like, that was not good. Why'd you do that? And I don't know what I was thinking about that at the time. I didn't figure out at that point that it was a panic attack. I figured that out like 2 years ago, perhaps. And I kind of was like, okay, well, that's normal, I guess. Not questioning, as you're taught to not question however you feel. And a year later, I went out drinking with a classmate in college, and I met a woman, and I slept with her. And I woke up the day after, and I had, the biggest anxiety, and thinking, okay, I fucked up now, all the stuff. And I went to talk to the elders, and they kind of were they were assholes about it. Would be the only way to put it. Like, they were just like, yeah, we kind of figured out what happened with you, like, we have no faith in you, this kind of vibe. And I got the restrictions, and I spent about 6 months lying in bed, being sorry, regretting this. I was very much like, I'm fucked. I need to, regret this with my full being. And, and after a while, it's like, how do I know if I really actually regret this? Because you have all these thoughts coming and going, that we now, outside of the organization, know that we can't really control our thoughts. Shit come up, like, and nothing we can do about that. Like, I'm being under the impression that God can see all your thoughts. That's scary. You're like, oh, that's not a good thought, and it drives you a bit mental, I'd say. So after about 6 months of that, I figured that there's nothing happening. Like, I thought I was kind of waiting for some, I don't know, some feeling or some kind of sign or something that you can stop feeling bad now and move on. But that never came. So I decided in the end to forgive myself. So I basically said out loud to myself, hey, Joakim, you're a 16-year-old kid, you fucked up, and it's okay. You're really regretting this, and it's okay. And I just felt better instantly. It was just like, oh, that was it. I just had to do it. And that insight pissed me off so much. So I went and talked to them again, the elders, and I said, look, I'm leaving this. I don't want anything to do with it. It was not like a process of, is this true? Is that true? I had none of that. I was just a teenager, I was just like, fuck this. I'm out. Like, I'm not doing it anymore. I can't, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how it's got, I can't do this anymore. So I just left.
That's very mature of you during that time to actually recognize that you are worthy of forgiveness and to forgive yourself. And how was your mother in the situation? Because I know that your mother was a witness. So when you got your privately reproved, what was your mom saying about the situation?
Yeah, my mom was always kind of supporting me. She was never a kind of a fundamentalistic kind of witness. She was always like, if that's your choice, I completely respect that. I'm always going to be your mom. I'm always going to help you and support you. And that's it. Like, she didn't try to convince me. She didn't threaten. She was no shunning from my mom. None of that. She was very kind of supportive with it.
It was just you and your mom that were witnesses in this.
Yeah, my stepdad as well. They were still married at that point. But yeah, and he didn't. Well, he was not the head of the family much, to be fair. Like, I'd never really listened to him much. Like, I never cared when I was a small child, but not at this stage. So, and then, so yeah, I kind of stormed out of the. Yeah, one of them said in the meeting with the elders, one of them said, "You're going to be just like your father." And at this stage, I never met my father. I just knew that he was a drug user and some kind of a criminal. Like, I never met him. So this elder that I've known all my life says, you're going to be just like your dad. You're going to be a thief, a drug addict, and a bad person. And that made me even angrier. Like, how dare you talk about somebody that I have never met? Like, if you're a 16-year-old kid and you've never met your any of your parents, you want to meet them. You don't need some stranger telling you that they're horrible people. That hurts. Like, so I left there, and I was just I kept running basically. I was just like, okay, I'm leaving that behind. I need to get fucking far away from this. And it took about 3 months before they read it out in the congregation, and I got to hear that they're going to read it out on the 24th of December 1996. So I spent that whole day calling all my friends that I grew up with, saying goodbye, like, if you ever come out, give me a call, or goodbye and good luck and all that. And, as everybody who hears this, who listens to this, who have left, knows how hard it is to just drop your whole belief system, all your values, your purpose, all your people, like everything essentially. And it's scary, fucking scary. And so the same evening, I tried amphetamine, drugs, for the first day. I actually convinced my biological dad that I had met at this point to give me some of what he had, and that was amphetamine. And
so the day that you got disfellowshipped?
Yeah, the same
December
day.
December 24th, 1996.
Yes.
Wow. And it was just you and your dad?
Sorry?
You were with your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, it's not like he was like, yeah, sure, here you go. Like, I had to kind of convince him a bit, but yeah, whatever. And the effect of that is amphetamine is, you get a sense of possibility. You start seeing, well, like, you see possibilities and solutions, and there is hope, and there's like, yeah, we can do this, and you feel good. So central stimulating drug. So everything is great. So the contrast of saying goodbye to everybody, is an enormous amount of sorrow and grief involved in that. as well as losing the purpose. What am I supposed to do now? What's the point of living? From having everything clear cut out to nothing, to then try amphetamine. My whole being was just like, this was nice. Like I'm gonna be doing this now. And I couldn't really. There was nothing to go against that. Why on earth would you not take these drugs if this is how they make you feel? Like, there's no reason that I can figure that I'm going to do this now. End of story. Like, and it took me a very long time, until about 18 months ago, or to figure out how deep that was. Like the sense of solution and possibility, and the capacity to not feel particular parts of my feelings, to avoid feeling, and to still be open and sociable, and have a purpose. That that whole feeling, is amazing. Like the contrast was very extreme, and it was just like my whole system was like, okay, so if you want to feel okay, you do this stuff. And I continued to take drugs for 23 years, pretty much every day for 23 years. Like, not amphetamine every day, but there was always drinking, there was always weed, or some other drugs, or some pills, or there was always something there to lean on, basically. And I did, I've got married twice. I've lived in the UK for a long time, and my kids are about to be 11 years old. So I've not only just been doing drugs in a dark corner somewhere. Like, I've lived and traveled and this and done all sorts of stuff, but I always had the drugs as a crutch, perhaps, or like something to make me be able to do everything else. And then 2019, well, it started probably 2018 maybe, and they kind of working a bit, and it just goes. So then I take more and more drugs, and I swap them around and try other drugs, and it's like, which I've been doing for a long time already. So, but it was just like they were not cutting it anymore. They just stopped working, essentially, until I was just in a very, very dark place, where I was basically standing, looking at trains passing by, standing next to the tracks, thinking, okay, I just need to take one step in front of it, and it's over, and I don't have to deal with this anymore. And then I had a moment where I thought, because the whole idea was that I can't live. If I can't take drugs, then I don't want to live, because that's the whole purpose of living. I need that to live. And now they're not working anymore. And I couldn't see, when you're in such a state of addiction, or, it's a dark place to be, and you can't, it doesn't make sense. Okay, I'll just quit them. That doesn't occur to you. Like that would be like, you might as well shoot yourself. Like, it's a very dark place to be. But I figured that I need to give it one try before the trains are going to keep running. I can come back here and kill myself some other day. But I figured that I'd give it one shot, that I owe it to my children to try once. So I did that, and very luckily my mom, she took a loan at the bank so I could go to a treatment facility. I went to one in Scotland, and started 12-step programs and a lot of therapy. And initially with the 12-step program, there's a lot of talk about God in there, and God, there's a power higher than yourself, and you need to surrender to this power, or to God. And coming from, and this is I'm 40 years of age at this point, so I left at 16 pretty much. It's quite a gap there. And I still couldn't, as soon as somebody said God, I would just be like, no, no. Like this, I can't, don't stop talking about God. Like, I can't deal with God. Like, it's not an option. So I kept seeing these people coming. Once a week they came in, and then they had a meeting, a 12-step meeting. And this rehab people from the outside came, and I kept seeing them. They seemed all right. Some of them, they were like, well, they were a bit crazy, perhaps, but in my pretty crazy view, to be fair, judging the other people. But I thought that they were happy. They were all sober, and they had some kind of will to live. So there's got to be something to it. So I decided to give it a proper go. You know, I'll just try and take whatever they say. I'll just do it. You know, I'll work through these steps, and you know, some of them steps they've got nothing to do with God. There's a few of them that mentions God, and some of them are like, you know, make a fucking list of your resentments. You know, stuff that keeps you angry, or that feels that you've been unfairly treated. And so you work through these things, and you kind of come to the conclusion, if you manage to do it properly, that, man, the only person that's hurt by me being fucking angry at the guy who bullied me in third grade, or, you know, that girlfriend, or whatever stuff it is me. You know, I'm the one carrying all this shit around. So to realize that also takes off quite a lot of the burden, you know, because you don't want to face your own pain. Drugs helps you to not look at yourself. You can just be like, yeah, I'm okay. But when you sit down and go, how do I actually feel? Like, you know, it's hard. It's hard for any person, I think. And when you've pushed it down for a very long time, it's pretty overwhelming. So, you know, to get help in a rehab facility and the 12-step stuff, doing that was great. But I still had they keep saying addiction is a disease. It's an incurable disease that you're never going to get rid of. And, you know, the God part. And I was just like, you know, I couldn't really fully, you know, I tried to just take the pill and swallow it and be like, okay, I'm trying this for a year's time. That was my decision, was to try it for a year. But it was so hard to get over the God. And this is this is an incurable disease stuff. And so somebody gave me a book by Gabor Mate, Into the Realms of Hungry Ghosts. And I read that, like, I probably never read a book so fast. Like, I just literally didn't put it down. I read it in like 4 or 5 days or whatever. It's just like, wow, okay. Because he explains that addiction is how it works, you know. Because after a month in a rehab, the anxiety starts coming. You know, I've made this choice to buy or to take drugs, and I've then not chosen my children, for example. I always had my children every other week, long after we had it. You know, I've always been there in their life. But in realizing how many weird choices I've made, putting them to the side, and, you know, trying to figure out why did I do that? And why would anybody do that? Why do addicts choose drugs in front of their families and their children, and instead of life, essentially? Why do we do that? Like, and they don't really have a good answer to that. The 12-step people, they just say, oh, it's a disease. You know, that might be helpful for a while when you're getting clean or whatever. But for me, I needed a better answer to that. And Gabor Mate in that book provides a fucking answer to that. And that is that, you know, we learn as children to, the most important thing that we need is attachment. So we'll do anything. We'll suppress our authenticity. I hate that word. In favor of attachment. And especially as Jehovah's Witnesses, that is even more prevalent. Like, it's like, don't, you know, your heart is treacherous. Don't feel, you know, if you have a problem, do more service, or, you know, study more, or, you know, be a more dedicated Jehovah's Witness. Put your focus, use your head and put your focus on the organization, on God, on all this stuff. So you're actively trained in not feeling what's going on. So, and it's all performance based. So the better you do, the better you get treated. But then again, it's never good enough, obviously. But well, so there is a, you know, in order to not feel, because feeling is essentially wrong. You know, I believe, you know, what's the point in feeling? You know, like, it took me a long time to figure out, like, it's because I have a fear of, like, I have an inner core belief, if you take that expression, of it's a sin to feel. It's wrong. God is going to judge you for doing that. So I wouldn't do that. I would just be like, no, I don't want to do that. So learning how to actually feel, like getting better at feeling and accepting that, you know, okay, I have sadness, or I have grief, or, you know, just practicing on being vulnerable. You have to be able to be vulnerable. If you want to heal, it takes vulnerability, and that can be very painful. It's not going to kill us, but it's scary for people, like for all people. But especially for Jehovah's Witnesses, because we're taught there's another layer to it there. Like, it's hard for most people, but for Jehovah's Witnesses, it's like it can also lead to a certain death. Like, so, you know, you better fucking avoid it. Like, and how okay, I lost my train of thought now. We do this. You're gonna edit, yeah? You have to edit. Now you can edit. When I'm waving, you can make a cut.
Or we can go back to in the realms of the hungry ghost and talk about how compassion is so underlooked in the whole addiction field, because addiction is not a disease. If you look at it with what Gabor says, and now what some people are even coming to realize that addiction is a coping mechanism, which we both know, because it's actually helping you cope in life. So it actually is not a bad thing. So if we take away the shame of addiction and say it's not a disease, you're using this because you have so much pain underneath the addiction, correct?
Yeah. On another day, that's what I would have said pretty much. But no, today I didn't.
That is okay. I'm here to save the day.
Yeah, finding into the realms of hungry ghosts by Gabor Mate in the rehab facility, and understanding that addiction is a coping mechanism. You know, it's not because the general idea of addiction in the world is that you're a bad person because you're a drug addict, or you know, you have a choice, and you know, it's like you're just making bad choices, and there is a lot of guilt and a lot of shaming around that. And reading his book, understanding that the way to look at it is with compassion, and specifically self-compassion, which is a very hard thing to get to. But understanding that because I had specific needs that have not been met as a child, both in my family and from Jehovah's Witnesses, and drugs gave me that. So it's like the good question that Gabor Mate puts on addiction is why the pain is not why do you do drugs, or you know, drugs are bad, or it's just like actually drugs can be a good thing. You know, they helped me cope my entire life with the pain that I was carrying, you know. And obviously would have been the best way would be to deal with that pain, but you know, you're not always capable of doing that, you know, and it's very painful. So until you can do that, drugs is not such a bad choice. It's a pretty smart choice. It's a genius choice, because it makes you survive instead of essentially feel horrible or killing yourself.
So then I have a question for you, if you don't mind me asking. As a outsider who was never an addict, why would you say an addict chooses drugs over their kids or their family?
Yeah, because that's what makes them whole, you know. Like for me, I had the organization. I grew up there, and as a child, as a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, I wasn't that unhappy. You know, I had a lot of friends, and you know, we had fun, like, you know. But then, as you grow up and you realize that whole thing is a performance-based thing, and if you're not a part of it, you're not welcome. You know, there is no love. It's conditioned love. So you lose the connection, you lose your purpose, and I lost all that, or I turned it down, to be fair. But you know, I nevertheless lost it, and then feeling alone and confused and just picking up drugs, who makes you feel it's like a substitute. You know, I just picked down the organization, and I picked up however drugs made me feel. So it's just like a swap, you know. Obviously, it would have been better to go to some good therapy, or having found a new community of people, etc. But that's not very easy. Like, so for me, I found drugs, and that just worked, and it was just like, wow. So that became so important to me, more important than anything else. It's a part of me, a part of who I am, and my best friend, because it gave me all the things. It filled all my needs. That hole that I had inside was filled by drugs. And you know, if you would have asked me in active addiction, you know, don't you think drugs make you a bad parent? I would have said no. Drugs makes me capable of actually even being anything of a parent. And that might not be necessarily true. There's layers of that, to be fair, you know, like, but that's how you feel as an addict. That's the mindset. I'm not going to be able to do anything. It's better I'm here than not here, you know. So it's like it makes complete sense to do something to solve your problems.
Yeah, I like that. And if we can use what A.H. Elma says about his theory with holes, that we are born with our whole selves intact as an infant. And if we're not completely mirrored with all of our childlike love and essence from our parents, we start developing a hole in the sense that we are still missing something from us. So as an adult, we're usually able to cover that hole by being successful or doing something that is making us look like really important. But once that hole is taken away with when you substituted being important maybe with drugs, once that hole is taken away, then you actually get to see that hole and it makes you really upset. That's also very triggering. So there's this true essence that's, unless you're able to heal from it, it's always going to be there. And that's why we were talking about earlier, people get very easily triggered because they are never able to actually look inside and fix themselves. They're constantly looking for things. And in the chorus of Gabor Mate, I love the fact that he says a trigger is such a small part of the weapon. So we're constantly looking at these triggers. Everyone's triggering me, the whole world's triggering me, but yet we're not looking at the whole loaded weapon, which is ourselves. There's ourselves. We need to actually look within and actually analyze what's going on in me. No, but we're pointing the finger at everyone else. You triggered me, you're triggering me, you're triggering me. Like, no, you're triggering yourself because you haven't taken care of your personal issue. So I just wanted to say that. And if we go back to you picking up the book with In the Realms of the Hungry Ghost, you read it in a couple of days, and after you were in AA. So what was, or I'm sorry, in the 12 steps. So what was that time? That was like 2018?
No, I arrived in Scotland 19th of November 2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So after you finished reading the book and you were in Scotland, what happened after that?
Yeah, so I spent 3 months in total in that rehab facility, and you know, it took me about 3 months to understand that my concept of God was my childhood concept of God, you know, like God, Jehovah. And I realized that, you know, I don't need to have that concept. I can make up my own fucking concept. That helps also a lot, like, you know, because that God, fuck that God. Like, I don't believe in that. And I've never, I haven't believed in that in a very long time. So why should I spend my time hating that or really disliking that? You know, it's just like, it's nothing, it's nothing. So I decided to make up my own high power. And I made being in a group into something bigger than me. So it can be just you and me here now. I'm telling you my story. I'm telling you how I actually felt and how I feel. Well, that is bigger than me. I'm sharing it with you. So then I put it outside of myself. And that is what the 12-step program actually means. When you say, you need to surrender to something greater than yourself. That just means stop solving everything in your head. You try to solve everything in your head. It brought you to rehab, asshole. Stop doing that. So now I share with you, okay, I actually feel like this. And when you come to a place where you can actually share honestly, and other people share honestly, and you listen, and you come to when you can be vulnerable, essentially, and be your authentic self. It's not so easy to always, it's easy to say, yeah, you just be your authentic self. Like, but if you've never been your authentic self, what the fuck is that? Like, and it's a process, and it takes time, and it's scary, and so on. But when you get there, it's like, you don't need God. So anyway, so I came out of there in February 2020. And I kept looking at all the videos I could find with Gabor and Bessel van der Kolk and Peter Levine, all of these kind of somatic related modalities.
So this is the beginning of the pandemic that this happened.
Yeah. So I came out of there, and a month after I came out, the COVID happened, like,
Wow.
or kicked off properly. And so what they did also, they canceled all the meetings in Holland and UK. Most of the people in that rehab were from Holland and UK or Netherlands. So we decided, and you're encouraged to go to a lot of meetings as you come out from rehab. You're supposed to go to 90 meetings in 90 days to kind of keep it going, your new habits, and to fill your head with recovery related stuff. But they canceled all the meetings. So it was like, that sucks. So we started we started 2 meetings that we did every day for the first 5 months or 4 months of the pandemic, which also really helped me. The point of doing service for other people, to help other people, is very helpful. If I feel that I am used, if you come from a dark place of addiction, and you've mainly fucked other people up essentially because of the way you lived, so to be able to be of service to other people and to be helpful, that is it makes you feel better about yourself. So I kind of built myself up by doing that, which is a great part of the 12-step culture or way, or way of recovering. But it's also, they don't encourage you to look any deeper. So it's like, I'll help you all day, and then I'll go home and sit home alone, and I'm still gonna feel shit. Like, as long as I'm there helping you, I'm gonna feel good. So it's a good way of getting through the worst bits or whatever, but it's not gonna actually solve your wounds, basically. So anyway, so I kept at the Gabor Mate stuff, watching a lot of videos. I did the short course from Compassionate Inquiry, and I figured, okay, I really this is what I wanna study. Like, I wanna become somebody who works with people. Initially, I thought, I'll work with addicts because that's what I know. And then, as I'm going through this course, I waited for a year because I figured that I need to let my brain repair and heal a bit. Started working out and eating healthy shit or whatever. So recovering physically. And then I applied for Compassionate Inquiry, and I got in there, and I was there for about 6 months, and then we met. And it was actually you who you're the first. You mentioned before that I was the first ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that you met in a long time, and same to you. Like, I have 2 friends that I grew up with, that I'm friends with, good friends, but we don't really speak that much, and we never speak about that. So you're the first ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that I've actually ever spoken to, I think, like more than very randomly. And you said, well, you should check out these groups, like on Facebook. It's pretty interesting. And I think I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. Why would I want to talk to all these? Why would I want to be in a community of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses? But you kind of convinced me that, but yeah, a lot of them are into healing. Like, they want to find a way to heal. Like, so I went in there with some curiosity, and I found that there's a lot of people doing healing stuff, and so a lot of different modalities being used and stuff, and after a while I figured that this modality that has actually helped me the most, Compassionate Inquiry, and the way to practice to get better at feeling, not to avoid feeling, to get better at feeling, basically, right? That was kind of missing in there, this kind of approach to it. So I figured maybe I'll start a group for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses where we practice this modality. So it's just a group of people connecting with each other to create some kind of safety. And then, how do you feel? It's not super complicated, really. Like, it's not so easy to sit down and start feeling when you've been running your whole life, or you've been taught that it's, actually a deadly sin to actually listen to your heart. So it can be complicated to do that. But in theory, on the paper, it's pretty easy. Like the Compassionate Inquiry approach, get better at feeling, what is happening for you right now in your body. And, to practice that in a group, to help co-regulate each other in a group. So then I started that. And that it went really well, and people really appreciated the group, and also the one-on-one. I have a few one-on-one clients where I work with the same approach.
That's incredible. And I also, before this call, when we were talking, I love the fact that after we talked, you were on fire and you were in the biggest Swedish tabloid magazine as you were featured in like this little part. And then you actually had a 2-page write-up. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that was
that's kind
weird.
of celebrity status.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know what that like. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like, it's funny because when I started, it's like us going through this program, you know, and there's, as you know, there's a lot of, you start the first week being a client and a therapist in a little small practice group, and you take a part of the approach and you practice that, and you do that week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out to different people. So you get pretty good at feeling, you know, like that's the point, is to the first 3 months of that program, you're just looking at yourself, right? You're not even you're acting as a therapist, but you're only looking at yourself, you know, how do I feel talking about this? This person is sharing this kind of story, this kind of emotions. How do I feel? So you get to know yourself and be like, okay, that is, so you can deal with that and not spill that onto clients and etc. And whilst doing all that work, I found so many things that originates from Jehovah's Witnesses, from growing up there. Like there's a weird fear of you know, of God, of expressing myself, of being, you know, following my heart, or my finding my potential, or taking space. And the day before that article was published, which was published the 25th of December.
Wow. The day after
21.
you got disfellowshipped.
So that's like 25 years and a day after I was disfellowshipped. That felt good. But the day before that, I had this fear going on, you know, like a weird fear. I was like, what I don't know what this is, you know. So I did some sessions on that, and it boiled down to actually stepping out into some kind of public light and be like, fuck these people, you know. Jehovah's Witnesses, this is a cult, and da. And it's just like, so I'll become an apostate then, you know, like in my mind, you know, that's something that's great, you know. I'm the happiest apostate ever, like I don't care. But deep inside of me, it's like, it was this fear, you know, and it was just like, it's a very rational fear, it's a physical kind of sensation of fear. So I worked through that, and it was just like, yeah, well, it's better now. And there's probably some little fear of God running around somewhere in my system, but it's much less than it ever was.
It's so interesting because that fear is so strong. In fact, like I'm about to launch an 8-week program for women called Find Your Truth. It's a play on like we're in the truth. And I sent you the whole write-up, but Gabor Mate says how Jesus says, as far as the Jehovah's Witnesses are concerned, the truth is being in the religion. So Jesus says, when you know the truth will set you free. But Gabor, I really like the fact that Jesus refers to our truth. It's not the truth in the religion. It's our personal trueness, our personal essence, our wholeness, who we are. So it's now I'm stepping on as in a big way that I'm making this program that my mom she's been in a regular pioneer for like 35 years. This is a big FU to her and the whole organization to be like, I'm really out now because I'm helping the Jehovah's Witness community. And I still have some cousins that are in the religion. My aunt and my uncle are still in the religion. So now I'm really like, but like you said, I'm the happiest apostate there is. And just the word apostate, Jehovah's Witnesses have this super negative connotation toward it, but it's actually not a bad word if you use it in the proper context. So I'm right there with you. I'm like, I'm the happiest apostate there is. Like, can we just make like a happy crowd of Jehovah's Witnesses? And I'm sure you know this, but the Facebook and all the communities on Reddit, the Jehovah's Witness space can be a very negative space. Lots of venting, complaining, gossiping, like it was the Kingdom Hall. I mean, you were really young when we left. I mean, I was 32 when I got this fellowship, so I knew the gossip and the tormenting of people that was going on behind the walls of the Kingdom Hall. It's like it's still going on Facebook. You're not at the Kingdom Hall, but you're just open up Facebook. So I can
Yeah.
see why you
No.
why you didn't want to get into the organization, the
Yeah. No.
community.
And also there's like, maybe we should add, because I know that you also agree with this. There is a space and a time. If you've been in an organization for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, there is a time to be fucking angry. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're talking about. But to remain in that anger and to remain there for too long, that's, anybody can do that if they want. But, that might not be the most healthy way to go about it. But to experience anger and experience a lot of emotions and express them, there's nothing wrong with that. But, when you have 1,000 people or 10,000 people in a group and they all go, hey, boom, there is you get sucked into that. And it's not your own, it's not just your feelings. It's it's a massive pain body.
Exactly. I mean,
so, people should be careful with that. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know about you, but there was a time when after I left, that I wanted to like put bombs in the Kingdom Hall, obviously when nobody was there. But I'm like, I just want to bomb all the Kingdom Halls. But now I'm just like, oh, those poor innocent souls that are going there. Now, like, my heart goes out to them. I'm much more compassionate, and they're all brainwashed, and I feel really bad for people that spend their whole life in the organization because they don't know any better. So, yeah. Gosh.
Well, as far as activism goes, I never plotted any bombs, but I did paint graffiti on one of them a couple of times.
Oh, really? Good to know.
It's just it was a big no on the front doors. Like, it said no, like
on the front door of the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
It's not that bad, I think it's fairly innocent. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing. I really like this. This is very interesting. But wow, so now you are leading groups with Andreas, who is another therapist in the Jehovah's Witness group, and you guys are doing CI in a combination with what other type of method in the specific group?
Yeah, he's a norm. He's educated in the norm method, which is a neuroaffective model. But it's kind of similar. It's very many similarities to CI, slightly different approach. Maybe it's focused more on kind of developmental of the phase of trauma, like which CI as well. They go very, very hand in hand. But it's very helpful to have two therapists in a group because we see slightly different things, and it's gone better than I would have anticipated, to be fair. It's going really well in that group, and I think everyone in there has several times expressed what a safe place it is to share, and how things come up that they would never have maybe thought about before, and things like that. So it's going really, really well. We have the next one of those starting the 5th of March.
That is so cool. Yeah, I'm so excited about starting mine. You are a role model for me to follow because you have done this group coaching first. I mean, and I got initially inspired by Rodney, and I've been thinking about doing this now since I met Rodney from the Facebook group a year ago. But there was just a part of me that was a chicken. I was so chicken. Now I'm like, fuck it. I'm just gonna do it. So like I said, the fact that you are so gung ho about getting your name out there and just like, let's just do this. Like, what is there to be worried about? And I'm so happy that you're doing this and that you're doing a fantastic job. Jehovah's proud of you. I know. I say that.
It's not like we're gonna die in Armageddon or whatever if we fuck up.
I say
we just try again.
Absolutely. We're only given this one life in this body. So we are all coming here on this planet to heal each other. And the fact that we both have been in that space, in the Jehovah's Witness space. I worked with people that have worked with therapists, many therapists before, but they just didn't get the Jehovah's Witness part. And if that was your whole life, then that therapist or that coach or that counselor was not for you, because you have to work with somebody who gets it.
Yeah. It's like there's another layer of, with trauma. There's a lot of good therapists and good psychologists and whatnot.
Absolutely.
But they're kind of missing the layer that is the religious layer or whatever. I mean, it's a hard thing to understand if you have not lived it, I think.
Right. And Jehovah's Witness. Right. And it's not like a, oh, we only go to church on Easter and Christmas. This is a very full-time
Yeah,
organization, a cult where you're literally, this is your life, you're devoting your life. And if you
yeah,
were born into it and now you're leaving and you're in your 40s, that's a huge fucking deal. Like, let's
yeah,
talk about that. And like you said, the heart
yeah,
is treacherous is one thing that we learned as kids. Your thoughts, oh my God can see my thoughts. So you are now not going to the meetings and you're so concerned about everything. Everything's, you're afraid of everything. So to really sit
yeah,
with your emotions can be very scary. So to provide a safe space is
yeah.
essential, the most important thing when it comes to healing, and to have your feelings validated and to work through them in a safe environment is so huge for the community. So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
I think your
again.
group, knowing you, I think your group is going to be amazing. You know, like it's
Thank
gonna,
you.
it's really cool that you're starting that. You know, it's going to be an asset to people, really.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it. All right, Joakim, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. Hopefully it'll turn out decent. We'll see. And I will talk to you hopefully soon. And maybe we can even have you on again. Maybe we can actually have you do a session with somebody, but nothing promised yet. I would love to have you back on, but this is my first interview, and I think this is a great opportunity to feature you.
Now you're up for the gruesome task of editing. Yay! Yay!
Exactly. Yay. All right. Till next
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Take care, everyone. Thank you.